Today, I'm going to show you how to create Belsnickle's Elf Bane and Mrs. Claus's powdered lavande root from the Christmas Chronicles 2. The things we'll need for our Elf Bane and lavande root are some glass bottles. Now, I picked these bottles because I felt like they were similar to the shape of the ones from the movie. So Belsnickle definitely uses a bottle that looks very similar to this. I picked this one up at Hobby Lobby, but you probably could use a recycled liquor bottle potentially for this one. And then Mrs. Claus actually puts the powdered lavande root into a metal canteen-looking container, but the shape is exactly the same as this bottle here. So I decided to do a glass version in the same shape as the metal one that's in the movie. We're going to be using some isopropyl alcohol or rubbing alcohol, but you could also use distilled water and just a tiny bit of glycerin. We're going to be using some blue and red mica powder. And this mica powder is from a set of 6 that I picked up at Michael's. And it is the same type that we used for Dash of Pox when we made our Hocus Pocus potions where we had the black. It's a thicker grained mica powder, so it settles much quicker, which I actually like for this one. We're also going to be using some extra fine glitter in red and blue. We will need some scissors. I'm going to use one of my stirring spoons. And then I'm using some ivory and gold cording. Then we will need our labels printed on sticker paper, and the link for this is in the description down below. Let's get started. All right, the first potion we're going to make is the Elf Bane. So this is what Belsnickle brings to Santa Claus, or as they dub it, Mrs. Claus's village in the Christmas Chronicles 2. And in the film, it is a powdered substance that they then add to the cannons that put the fake snow in the area. So ours is still going to be powdered, but I actually want to make it more like a potion. So we are going to use the alcohol and the mica to get a swirling effect in our potion. Now, if you wanted to make yours powdered, which you totally could, you're going to use almost all the same ingredients we're using here. You're just going to have a few additions. So you're going to use some sand. I would use either a white sand or you could start with a blue sand. And then you're going to need some alcohol ink or food coloring in blue to be able to brighten the color. And then you're still going to use the mica powder and you're going to use the extra fine glitter and you're going to mix that all up and it will give you a powder that will look very much like the one in the film. But we're going to take it and make it an actual potion. So the first thing we're going to do is fill up our bottle here. And this is a really big bottle, so it might take most of this, if not all of it. All right, so we're going to stop there because I'm going to add some alcohol to this container, and this will be the one that we add our mica powder to first. And I think that'll do it. All right, so we are going to add in some of this mica powder, and like I said, it is a thicker grained mica powder than most. I will tell you, I did pick up this blue mica powder from Michael's. However, this one has a little bit of pigment in it, as it says it's pigment powder, but sometimes it's not really pigment powder. So in my test, it actually turned the liquid blue, which if you want that, that's totally fine. But I want mine to clear back out 100%, so it is a clear liquid and it almost magically has the blue appear in it. So that's why I opted to go for this thicker grain with a little bit of the extra fine glitter. But the blue mica powder is very pretty. It swirls a lot. I like it, but it does color the liquid blue. And again, I was going for more of a clear effect, but if you don't mind it turning the liquid blue, then you could definitely use that mica powder if you want. So I'm going to add a decent amount of this mica powder because this is a really big bottle. So as you can see, it is very thick, so it just kind of tries to go to the bottom. And it does mix up, and it does give us a really pretty glittery swirl. But it will settle out very quickly, which I actually like too because I feel like it just adds another level to the magic. And then we're going to add in some of the extra fine glitter. You don't have to, but I just feel like it adds another little bit of like a Christmassy vibe to it. And it's going to add some more shimmer and sparkle. So see how that just adds to the shimmer of the mica powder? So we get this beautiful swirling, and all of it is going to settle very quickly. But we're going to stir this up. Since it is a bigger one, it does settle very fast. So I'm going to stir, and then I'm going to quick pour into our bottle. But see how much already settled? So I'm going to just put a splash of alcohol in there. Just try to get the rest of that in our potion. Now, you could have mixed all of this into the same container, but again, I just think it looks a little bit more magical for you guys to watch when we pour it separate. But we get this beautiful blue swirling, and it's going to all settle out to 100% clear fairly quickly. So I'm using a number 4 cork on this one, and again, I like to use the rubber corks for evaporation purposes. So I'm going to dry the neck of the bottle where the cork is going to be. And then I'm going to rough up our cork. So I don't know if you guys can see how much it's already settling and starting to clear out. So this might also be a situation where we could use this in a similar fashion as we do like a calming jar, like we did for our calming draft. And if you want it to linger a little bit longer, you could add some glycerin to thicken it up, or you could even add a little bit of hand sanitizer and mix it in there. It'll just give it a little bit more of a viscosity so that the swirls will stick around a little longer. You just may end up getting a few clumps at the bottom depending on how you do it. All right, so I've got that nice and roughed up. We're going to kind of press and swirl that into our potion. Okay, that one's on there good. And I'm going to give it a good shake here. So for this one, I made a sticker label we're going to stick on, and we're going to kind of haphazardly put it on our bottle because I feel like nothing about Belsnickle is super clean and organized, and everything is a little bit haphazard, so I feel like his label would be as well. So we just have our little Belsnickle's Elf Bane on here, so we'll be able to just kind of click that on. I already went around the outside edge with a matching marker, which in this case, from that Five Below batch that I like so much, it was just like a peachy color, and it ended up matching this pretty well. So we're not going to worry too much about placement. We're literally just going to kind of slap it on our bottle. And for this one, I think that's all we're going to do, because I want it to just be very simple and like something he grabbed and brought with him to try to destroy Christmas. So now we're going to make Mrs. Claus's Levande root. All right, so for Mrs. Claus's Levande root, this is the root that is the only known antidote to the elf bane that Belsnickle puts into the cannons. So in order to turn the elves right, she sends Jack to go get the Levande root. So in that, she also powders it, and again, it goes into a container that looks like this, that's metal, that Jack then goes and puts into the cannons. So again, if you wanted to make this a powder, you totally could. Same way we just talked about doing the elf bane, where you'd use the sand, some coloring, same mica powder, same glitter, all that, and you'd be able to make a glittery powder if you didn't want to make a potion. But again, I felt like a potion would be a little bit more fun. And if you haven't seen the Christmas Chronicles series, and especially Christmas Chronicles 2, then you would know that Mrs. Claus would definitely be okay with a potion. I 100% believe she is a witch, and she is definitely an advanced potioner. So she has all kinds of potions, and her cauldron has a little looking glass on the top, so she takes like nods from Harry Potter and maybe even a little bit from like Halloween Town, where she can see things in it. She's able to levitate books to her, the whole thing. I definitely feel like she's got some wizard witch vibes about her, and I love it, and I'm here for it. So I feel like this would be something that she would definitely make, would be a potion. And because Mrs. Claus is a little bit more refined and she is an advanced potioner, her bottle would be a little bit more put together and would feel a little bit more potiony. So we are going to add some cording on this. I have a fancy cork, the whole 9 yards, and she's going to use a tag instead of a haphazard label put on with like masking tape. So for hers, we're going to start the same way. We're going to fill it with our rubbing alcohol, and then we are going to put the same mica powder and glitter into this one and pour it in, and then we'll finish this one off a little bit more refined for Mrs. Claus. Now this is the same bottle that we used not that long ago for Madame Leota's Seance Elixir, but again, it was the perfect shape, so I couldn't say no to picking up this bottle. But you could definitely do this in any bottle you want. I'm going to put this in and we'll see if we feel like it is enough or if we need to add a little bit more in here. But because the opening of this is so small, I definitely wanted to use... Whoop. Well, that's a problem. Okay, so we overflowed it a little bit, but it's only the clear liquid that's coming out, and it's replacing the clear liquid with some of our glitter. All right, so obviously this is too full, so I'm going to be pouring some of this back out carefully. Okay, so that is a closer amount to what I want. Now, I'm going to let this settle. Like, we're going to dump off some of the clear alcohol, and then we're going to add a little bit more of the red mica powder and glitter that's already in the bottom of this. But let's see what we have so far in here. So we definitely get a great swirling, but I definitely want to add a little bit more, and I do love how glittery it is. So we'll let this settle for just a couple minutes because, as you can see, it's already clearing out. And then we'll be able to take the mica powder that's already in here and the glitter that's already in here and add it to this, and then we'll see if we need to add some more. Okay, so I dumped off most of it. We're going to give this a really good swirl to try to get everything in motion so that it gets added to our bottle here. And I'm going to put just a splash of some alcohol in here just to kind of clear my funnel out a little bit. All right, now let's see if after what we just dumped in, if we feel like that's enough. So I definitely feel like it's enough glitter, but I think I might add just a tiny bit more mica powder. All right, and that I feel like was a strong enough one. And again, it just settles so quickly. But I'm really okay with that because I love that it's going to clear out super fast and then just magically swirl back up. So for this one, I am using a recycled, I think it might have been, I don't know if it was rum bourbon. I'm not sure, but these are a silicone-based cork in here, and then it has the wood top. So it's going to help with the evaporation as well, but I felt like this wood top just really went nicely for Mrs. Claus. I feel like it just gives a nice little nod to like the toys and the workshop and things like that, but also how Mrs. Claus would be a little bit more refined. So we're going to stick this on. And give it a good little twist, and that sucker is on there. And then we can swirl up our potion. So we're going to finish this one off, like I said, with some wrap and with a tag. So we're going to wrap this one just like we have hundreds of other ones before. Again, I'll put a link up above to my tips and tricks video where I talk all about different cork styles, why I fill my bottles with what I do, how to tie our cording on the top, all of those things. And right now, Michael's has these types of strings on clearance. Same thing with Hobby Lobby, or they're not really on clearance, but they're at least like half off because we're getting so close to Christmas. So go snag some good cordings now for the rest of the year. I picked up a blue that had some gold or silver in it and picked up some green. So good time to get those things. And really check out the fall clearance that's like 90% off or something crazy. I found some good orange cording in there for some fall potions next year. All right, perfect. So we have Mrs. Claus's little wrapped top here. And see how lovely this is, how it just clears out so fast. And now we're going to put this off to the side so we can get our tag ready. So I have printed this on sticker paper. And we are going to pre-fold this in half before we do any peeling or anything like that. Because we want to get everything lined up and pre-scored or folded so that the tag knows where it's going. It's going to help minimize any little mistakes or it being off, things like that. So give it a good crease. And then once it's all together, we can then peel the backing paper off. Any little imperfections we get when we stick it together, we'll just cut off. It's no big deal. And then we're going to be able to go around the outside edge with a matching marker. So we're going to carefully refold it back where we pre-folded it. So everything goes together nicely. And then we're just going to smooth it out to make sure there's no little air bubbles in there. But as you can see, everything lined up pretty darn well. I don't think we're going to have to really do any trimming. We're just going to be able to go around the outside edge with the matching marker. And then we're going to use a hole punch for the top. But again, I didn't want to do that until we had it together. So there is just one little mark right here. So I'm going to even that up. Overall, pretty close. But again, if it's not super close, it's no big deal. Just bring your scissors out and trim it down so everything lines up. We're going to punch our hole. So I'm going to get this lined up. And we got that punched. Now we can go around the outside edge with a matching marker. So in this case, I'm going to use this darker color that kind of goes with where it says CNCC Apothecary and some of the darker pigments in the paper. This is optional. You don't have to do this, but I feel like it just gives a little bit more of a finished look, and it can also kind of give you like a burnt edge vibe, especially if you decide to hold your marker somewhere longer or less long in places. So then that way it kind of gives you that old paper look. And now we have our completed tag that we'll be able to hang on here. So we're going to take some more of our cording. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to find the middle of my cording here, and we're going to push it through. So that way we have this nice tag vibe. And we're going to tie this onto our bottle. I'm going to knot this on here, and I'm going to add another knot just to be safe. All right, so now we have Mrs. Claus's powdered Levande root. And as you can see, it has pretty much settled out to clear. And now we'll be able to grab it. And give it a good shake. And now we have Mrs. Claus's powdered Levande root. And there you have it. Our Belsnickle's Elf Bane and Mrs. Claus's powdered Levande root from Netflix's Christmas Chronicles 2. If you haven't checked out the Christmas Chronicles movies, I highly recommend them. They are fantastic. They're full of magic. I feel like they are great for all ages, and they just put you in the Christmas spirit. So if you guys like this video, give me the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do so, and we will catch you guys later. Thanks so much.